Hey everybody, Dr. Claw here with a quick screencast, just kind of walking you through how you can check your status and see if you have met the minimum passing requirements for Monsters in British Lit. I know I've talked about this some on Yellow Dig and an email, but I thought maybe a visual representation might help you out some as well. So this is a student view of Canvas, and it can show you a lot of what it's actually going to look like for you with some caveats that I'll address when we get there. Okay, so most of your work, as you're trying to figure out what you've done, is going to be over here in modules. And so you can see that my training camp is marked as complete. So I've got check marks and everything. The check mark means that not only have you completed it, but I have graded it as well. And then for the sample, I decided I was going to do Frankenstein. And so I completed all the items in Frankenstein. And you'll see that one of the items that you don't have to do anything, you just have to read it, is the reading guide. And so if you are discovering that you aren't finding badges for defeating any of the monsters that you're pretty sure you've defeated because you've submitted all of the assignments for that monster and you've received grades for all of those assignments, check and see if you've actually got a check mark for the reading guide for that assignment. And absolutely, I would start with the reading guides anytime you're tackling a monster, because I put them there to give you some context about the text and to help guide you and give you some suggestions of things to look at as you read and questions to keep in mind as you read. So the goals of those reading guides are to just make it easier for you to do your analysis. Okay, so you can see down in Frankenstein that I've got a check mark next to the complete all items. That means that that entire module is complete and I should have a badge for Frankenstein. However, if you look at, let's see, Fairy Queen, you can see there's a minus there, and that means I have started it. So I've turned in a critical reading for the Fairy Queen, but I haven't completed the whole module. So that does not show up as a check mark. So check mark means you're all done. Red means you've started, but you are not done. Okay, so here's where it looks different for you than it does for me, because my poor little test student does not show up under badges. So when I click on badges, it should show up that I've got the stunned badge for Frankenstein. That's an automatic badge. So as soon as I have graded everything that you need to defeat a monster, you should get an automatic badge here. And if you don't, sometimes it asks for me to refresh the page before it gives you your badge, but my test student can't see this. Like when I'm looking in the instructor view, my test student doesn't actually show up on the progress board like the rest of you do. So anyway, but this is where you would go to check and see how many badges you need. So as a reminder, you need 5 badges, and you can click on the details here to see what's required in order to earn that badge. So you can click View Criteria, and it will show you exactly what you need. So you'll need to read the reading guide, and you'll need to attain the passing category or higher on all of the assignments in this monster module. So as you may recall, all of the rubrics have a passing level. In the rubric, it's called passing, and you'll need to get that minimum number of points in all of the assignments on that monster module in order to earn this badge. So it's actually kind of handy. You can click right through and see what you need to do in order to earn that badge, and all of you will have the training camp badge already. So when you navigate to this page, even if you haven't stunned any monsters yet, you should have the training camp badge. The other higher level badges will be ones I have to hand out individually, so those are not auto badges. That's something I'll have to manually distribute. Okay, so that's the gist of how you can sort of check your progress. So remember, you need you need 5 monster stunned badges. And in order to help you kind of visualize what's coming at the end of the text, I've also created this Finishing Monsters in Brit Lit checklist. I'm a very visual person and I like checklists, so if you think this will be handy for you, you can download it and complete it yourself. If you have a different system, that's of course fine. So as you attain these goals, you can check them off. So have you defeated these monsters? Monsters 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then I also listed out the required assignments just to make sure that you're keeping them in mind, because they don't show up in one module together necessarily. So I've gotten a large chunk of analytical paragraphs. I'm still missing some of those. I've gotten very few close reading papers, which is kind of concerning. And I've gotten no comparative papers, which is not entirely surprising, but that's something that most of you should be looking at right now. And then remember, you do need to submit one rough draft. So you could do a rough draft for the close reading paper, which I've gotten a few of those, and I give feedback on those. Or you could do a rough draft for the comparative paper. Keep in mind, if you turn in your rough draft and then turn around and give me your final draft at the same time, I'm not going to give you feedback on the rough draft, because obviously you're not going to use that feedback. Anyway, so just keep that in mind in terms of your expectations about feedback, and then the kind of speed with which you're turning stuff in. So if you're waiting to turn everything in all at the same time, you're not going to really get much feedback on that. Okay, and then of course your Yellow Dig post, which most of you are keeping up with quite well. And then we'll have the final exam, which will be open book, open notes, but I will hand that out once classes wrap up and those final deadlines are done. Anyway, so that is your checklist. And then I put these other categories down here. So these items are the minimum requirements in order to pass the class with a D. If you want to pass with higher than a D, then you might want to write in what you're going to do for additional points to get to the point level that you want. And so the easiest thing to do will be to go to your grades section over here, which should be set up to show you points. Yeah, so here you can see how many total points you have right now. And so you can look back at the home page under points in order to see the point values that you'll need to attain for the different grades that you might want. Okay, so figure out what points do you already have, what points will you get with the required assignments listed up here, and then add in what you're going to do for any additional points that you want. And then I set this one up as personal due date, so you can look at your calendar, figure out when you need to get each assignment in the next 8 days in order to get everything in by June 18th. And that's the gist of it. So hopefully this little tutorial has helped you figure out how you're going to finish this class strong and pass Monsters in Brit Lit with flying colors.